Even though we are a technology company, we're an information technology business, we're an IT services company, we're really in the people business.
While we're in IT, so we're in the IT services industry, we're really a people company by choice.
Atrion culture is people. It is the family. It is this group that are coming together to do great things.
The following special program is brought to you by Atrion IT Technology, Rhode Island College, Cardi's Furniture, and the Arpin Group. I'm Peter Arpin, and we welcome you back to ReNewable Now. We hope you've been watching over the past 4 weeks, as today, on the last of our 5-part series on building an energy plan that helps fuel economic growth, we bring it all together and tell you the story of eNow. Why is their story unique? And why is this new startup an ideal vehicle for evaluating our hopes and dreams of moving our world into a cleaner, brighter future? How do they fit into a changing energy landscape? And what does that mean to you and I? Stay tuned to find out. Thanks so much for staying with us on Renewable Now. This being our last segment of the energy shows here at Cardi's Furniture. And one of the things you've probably been wondering is, what is this eNow truck sitting back there? Well, Jeff Flath is here from eNow, President, CEO. Jeff, how are you
Peter,
doing?
good, how are you?
And Bob, how are you doing? Bob, we've got a bit of a history together, having done the Cape Air shows. And,
that's right.
And now back on eNow. So good to see you, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Peter.
Give us the backstory on eNow.
eNow is basically a collaboration between my history and a previous position I was in, and started to look at integrating thin film solar in 2003. And in that life, we became acquainted with Arpin and your team about looking at how to put a bladder system on the top of a truck, integrate solar, and how to operate that in getting rid of ice and snow.
It is kind of ironic. We came together. We're working on the solar and the battery, and as you said, you're helping us work on the bladder, and then boom, right? You get an opportunity to actually shift all your attention to this technology.
Correct. And so in 2011, April 2011, we formed eNow, and it was based off of some experience we had in developing the first 100% solar-powered billboard in Times Square, New York, as an example, and then integrating solar into transportation applications.
So tell us about these products, these solutions to transportation, and how they're going to change the landscape.
Well, basically, eNow is not a collaboration. eNow basically combines various different energy sources, solar being one of them, but not the only one. So we can take power from the alternator, we can take power from plugging the truck in at night and charging batteries, we can take power from regenerative brake systems, regenerative shock absorbers, and exhaust recovery systems. All systems that the major trucking companies are working on, your Navistars, your Max, your Peterbilts, and so forth.
And what are the goals of doing that? Is it to drive down operating costs? Is it to increase efficiency? Is it to help the environment? What are the goals of doing that?
It's everything you've said. It's obviously to eliminate some of the greenhouse gases that are generated in the trucking industry and transportation industry in general. But it is also a cost avoidance, because we can reduce the cost of the fuel and other components, particularly in no idle situations with the no idle laws, where trucks can't idle, so they don't have cabin comfort or whatever. we can actually power those systems.
So in simple terms, you're using solar panels, and we're going to talk about how you're innovating really some of your own panels and how the production levels are getting much greater. So you're capturing that and other energy sources, putting it into batteries, and then that's allowing the driver or the operator, Bob, then to not idle at times?
Not idle and use, as I mentioned, cabin comfort, or another good example is lift gates. Delivery companies have to keep their trucks idling quite often just to keep the power to the lift gates. Well, we store that power, we can do that, we can replenish that during the day while they're doing their runs. Where quite often they only replenish at night, they plug in, or they have to rely on the alternator to give additional power.
Or potentially they could have burned out the battery when they were sitting there making deliveries like a Cardi's furniture does. Jeff, tremendous technology, has potential all over the world. Huge savings in energy costs, emissions, make the fleets that much more efficient, even in terms of having power for communications. Why did you decide on Rhode Island, and what kind of, because one of the things we're doing here on these shows about energy is really looking at who's driving it, who's driving this new plan, who's driving these new efficiencies, is it public, is it private? So why here, and what kind of help have you got?
I have to laugh when somebody says, why Rhode Island? I've lived in Rhode Island. My wife and I and family have lived in Rhode Island for 30 years. And so we call this home, and we said, why not Rhode Island? Rhode Island has so much to offer with regard to its infrastructure of some of the best educational institutes in the world.
Which must be very valuable to you, right?
Absolutely.
On the R&D side?
Absolutely. And we said, you know, Rhode Island is losing jobs, not gaining jobs. So why not do something in the state that makes a difference to the people in the state of Rhode Island, to the economy, and to the world.
And to the world. And so have you gotten some help? Have you worked with the schools? Have you worked with the government? What have been the, because it's very interesting to us as we see new businesses incubated, this kind of new green economy, new jobs, new commerce. Have you had some help, and what have been the sources to kind of get you to where you are today?
Like your previous, Steve Eves, one of your previous guests said, it's a combination. It's a combination. We had to raise money to be able to seed the company with the appropriate amount of capital to get it off the ground. So it was a combination of private equity, and we actually went through the Rhode Island Economic Development Corporation and applied for the Job Guarantee Program.
Which has allowed you to do some beta testing,
correct,
start to work with potential customers, and really get to the level where you're commercially viable.
Yes,
now, I assume.
We actually have purchase orders, and we've shipped product, it's been installed, and it's in use as we speak.
Well, let's get into that. So who are some of the existing and potential customers for eNow?
Our basic customers are anybody in the transportation industry, such as your Department of Transportations, your utility companies, your communication companies, road construction, anyone who may have a vehicle that's sitting along the road, running emergency lighting, warning the public. They're currently running their engines idling the engines to provide electricity.
So you, as an example, worked with, is it the Department of Maine?
Maine Department of Transportation.
Maine Department of, and what did you do for them exactly?
Yeah, we put in a solar panel and a small battery system, and so that they could run all their emergency lights and directional lights, their beacons, on the side of the road. And when they first started with us, they were getting an average of 7.2 miles per gallon on the vehicle because it idled all day. Once we put the system in, it went up to about 11 miles per gallon.
That is fantastic.
It's been fantastic, and they jumped right on it and avoided some systems.
That is fantastic. So the rate of return, the return on investment has got to be terrific. So I assume then that that is applicable to other departments of transportation?
Absolutely.
Even in Rhode Island, do they use a lot of the same equipment? Do they have a lot of the same needs for power? Or?
Correct. Yeah. We're actually meeting with Rhode Island Department of Transportation tomorrow. So
they too would contemplate the ability
Absolutely.
to use your systems and in particular solar in that case to power some of that. When we come back from break, we really want to get into, okay, so let's talk about some more of the customers and what's the potential impact on them, on their operations, and on their customers. We'll be right back. want to take time to thank our many sponsors who, along with you, our viewer, continue to make this show possible. Together with the Arpin Group, Cardi's Furniture, Atreon, Rhode Island College, Handy Law, Merrill Lynch, and Ocean State Financial, and our newest partner, WB Mason, we have taken a great ride in 2012 across many cities and towns to major events and have built our global audience using newspapers, radio, TV, and the web to over 200,000 listeners and viewers per month. We've done that by being graced with great guests, including governors and senators, government leaders, and true pioneers and innovators at schools, nonprofits, businesses, and on the streets of our cities and our towns. As ReNewable Now continues to grow locally, regionally, and across the globe, we'd like other sponsors to join as partners and share in our success. If you want to promote across the booming green economy with a platform like no other, please contact us by emailing our staff at fiscalrecordings@cox.net or call our co-producer and head of business development, Anne-Marie Fisk, at 401-603-2097. You can find the same information at our website as well. We are helping to transform the world. We'd love to do the same for you and for your organization. We are ReNewable Now, the business side of green.
Thanks for staying with us. So Jeff, let's get into some of the kind of the beta testing you've been doing, the customers you've been working with, and what does it mean to them, and then what does it mean to their end customers?
Well, we've been testing with grocery manufacturers, people like Stop and Shop Corporation. We've been testing cold plate refrigeration systems, lift gates, long distance transport, such as the Arpin van lines.
And when you
so
say
forth.
testing, you're putting solar panels?
Putting solar panels on the roof.
And what about battery systems?
And battery storage systems. And so we're producing energy from the solar, storing it in the batteries, and then providing energy out to auxiliary equipment so that the truck doesn't have to idle the engine.
So is it different if Arpin has that system and we capture that energy? Do we use it any differently than a Stop and Shop, or is it all kind of used the same by customers?
It's used basically the same. It just depends on the actual device that we're powering.
Okay, and their kind of return on investment is going to be dictated somewhat by the kind of tractor they're running and the kind of fuel they're burning. But what does it mean to them? Is it helping them in operations? Is it helping them save money?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
what does it mean to their customers?
It's lowering their operating costs through reduction of fuel usage, reduction of engine maintenance cost, and on a diesel engine, idling the engine is one of the worst things you can do. It lowers the lifetime of that particular engine.
So it definitely takes some wear and tear.
Correct.
Off of that.
And so if they're lowering their operating cost, they're able to then lower their cost to their customer base. So if you think about in grocery management, as fuel increases, the cost of delivering food to the marketplace increases. Those costs are passed along to us.
Yeah, and it's got to be a fairly significant part of their operating expense. I mean, they must burn through an awful lot of fuel. When you look at their distribution points and how they're transferring all that food product from there into the stores, and what it ultimately costs to get it to the consumer. Now, so these companies have a bent for saving money, for being more efficient operationally, for improving their environmental performance, and for helping clean the air. How do you fit into the overall choices they have? Because as a fleet owner, I can look at biofuels, I can look at a conversion to natural gas. Bob, how does eNow fit in? Do you compete? Do you complement?
No, we definitely complement, because we go above and beyond the other conservation measures because we do actually generate additional energy that can be used in the various systems of the vehicle. One of the things we like to do is actually put the excess energy after we filled our batteries into the alternator and electrical system, because then we can actually take the stress off the alternator, which saves fuel. So that's one of the key components. Another key feature of some of our technology is working with hybrid vehicles. Now they require a much higher voltage than your typical 12 volts or 24 volts. Well, our systems are designed to actually switch the voltage of the solar output on demand. So if a hybrid system wants our power, we can actually up the voltage on the output and make it more efficient. So we're have very little loss in converting the power into the systems.
That's really interesting. So those hybrid
right.
systems, are they starting to get more common? And would the effectiveness of your product be even greater there? Or
it's for extended range, because we can generate more fuel, because they rely on whether it's regenerative braking or other measures to power up the battery, and which is then used to propel the engine. And we can just continually feed that engine during the sunlight hours.
So one of the things in our series of shows, we've been looking at energy conservation, usage, planning. Can we get to smart grids, new technology? You're in a little bit of a sweet spot in that solar has gotten more efficient and less costly, and battery systems. What about the solar panels? Are you buying what's there? Are you buying in the US? Are you innovating? What's going on?
The basis of our technology, of eNow's technology, is in the solar panel design. So we've actually designed the solar panels ourselves. We have patents pending on the design and the features of these panels. And the best thing, and what we like to say, is we are actually making these products here in the United States, which we thought was important.
And in the time you've been doing this, have you seen improvements? Are those panels better? Are they generating more energy? Are they making your systems more efficient and better financially?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. When we first started, we were looking at some of the technology was only about 17% efficient. And in this short time, it's already 20% efficient that we can use the components.
So it's improved that quickly?
It has, and it's improved because it's very practical now. You could get 20% a few years ago, but it was very expensive. Now it's the same cost as the 17 or 16%.
We're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to stay with that. We'll be right back.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a 600-pound gorilla, able to pack any home in a single move. Look, pulling up to our house. It's a delivery. It's a truck. No, son, that's the Arpin moving guy. An advanced mover from the Arpin Group, sent to defeat rogue movers and moving giants that provide bad home moves. He delivers customer satisfaction, quality work, and award-winning service. For a super move, call Arpin at 800-343-3500 or visit arpin.com. The Moving Guy, saving the world from bad moves, one customer at a time.
Thanks so much for staying with us. We are finishing up here at Carty's Furniture. So Bob, let's continue. You're seeing improvements in solar panels. You're helping to innovate that. What about on the battery side?
Yeah, we are. Typically, we use lead acid in the trucking industry or transportation industry, but the big area where there's improvements in lithium-ion technology, and that's what we're really exploring now because it's lighter. You can run the batteries, they last so much longer than lead acid, and that's one of the biggest expense for truckers today. So they have to replace their lead acid batteries less than every 2 years.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
And it'd be great to put in a battery that's going to last 5 or 8 years.
Now, will you run into the same problems, heat being a problem? I know airlines, right, Boeing has had I mean, is that going to be a stumbling block for the transformation?
Potentially.
Potentially, so
Yeah.
you've really, because obviously that's a safety hazard for trucks and combustion.
Absolutely. But there's a lot of management systems that you put in to manage that. And I think that's kind of an unusual thing with Boeing right now, to be honest, because this lithium-ion technology has been around for years and it's well proven.
All right, now how do you fit in on a federal level? Do you work with EPA? Are you part of them, do you think, being able to change transportation and get to cleaner air?
We actually are in the process of gaining EPA Smart Way approval. We are working.
What is that?
EPA Smart Way Approval is a voluntary program that transportation companies can get involved with, and it's a plan to lower the operating cost of trucks, lower the fossil fuel consumption, and lower greenhouse gas emissions.
All good goals. You're going to be part of that?
We're already involved. We're going through the EPA Smart Way approval. We're also going through similar process with California Air Research Board, CARB, and NYSERDA in New York.
Help me out here. What kind of impact can you have? I mean, can you take off 2% of the use of fuel typically for a truck? I mean, where is that?
It depends on the application, but in an application such as Arpin van lines, we were able to show a savings of between 8 and 12% a year in fuel costs. And you think about a long distance truck is now currently using about $80,000 of fuel a year in their operation. So when you're saving between 8 and 12% a year, you have a significant savings, and the payback on the investment is less than 2 years.
Does that equate to a similar amount of savings on emissions, or how does that work in relationship?
Emissions is, I think the calculation is 22.2 pounds of carbon of CO2 for every gallon of fuel saved.
Okay.
So it's considerable.
It's a big number. And again, when it's just part of the piece that EPA wants to move transportation to alternative and biofuels and natural gas and reducing the weight and airflow and
Correct.
all of that could potentially add up to a huge impact. How do you now become part of the Rhode Island landscape, part of the kind of the new technology, new innovation, and do you see a lot of growth potential in terms of jobs for eNow?
Yes, we do. And again, when you look at our business, we're talking about 15 million medium and heavy duty trucks in the United States alone. That's not even talking about what's in all of North America and the world.
Because I assume this is applicable outside of the U.S. as well.
Yes.
So 15 million potential customers in that case?
15 million trucks currently
that
using it.
could be outfitted in some fashion
Correct.
with these products that would help create and store energy on a renewable, clean basis.
Correct.
So the potential is phenomenal. What are the hurdles? What are the things that it will take for you to be successful and to convert, the food service folks and all of those different customers, across?
It's the hurdle is getting people over the fact that solar's not new. People say this is new technology, and solar has been used in space since 1958. And so solar itself is not new. What is new is that solar panel has become more efficient, the costs have come down, fuel costs have gone up, and we've developed a process and a way of converting that energy and lowering the operating cost of a vehicle. That is what's not been done before.
And Bob, let me ask you, so if you generate excess energy, would you be able to apply it to other aspects of a truck? You talked about to the alternator, but
yes.
I mean, are there de-icing systems, which you talked about with the bladder? Are there natural climate control? Could you make those trucks even more effective as an asset with that energy?
Absolutely. One of the projects we're working on is putting the excess power back into the grid or into a warehouse, because if you look at any distribution center, there's lots of trailers that are sitting out in the yard all day long. And if we can just plug those in, we can supply power to the warehouse or actually go back into the grid. And we think that's long term.
That's a great point, because we've been talking about a smart grid and being able to feed it renewable energy, not have it turned off. So really, that becomes a huge win, right? If somebody owns a piece of equipment and they have this capital investment, and you've reduced their operating costs, but now, when it's sitting, it becomes a potential power source.
Absolutely.
Right? That's got to be a huge win. What would it take to make that happen, do you think?
It's the infrastructure from taking the power from the truck and taking it back to the grid.
So meaning the infrastructure they would have in terms of inverters and being able to accept that and net meter and
Correct.
Okay, you get the last word. Here in Rhode Island, has it been a good experience Are you satisfied where you're at, and are you satisfied with the support systems that you've seen in growing a new company?
I wish I could say yes, 100% to all of that, but it's been a learning process. And I think that the state can get better, and a lot of your guests in your previous shows have talked about how the state can get better, whether it's on the government side of utilizing the technology, whether it's on the investment side of making smart investments. I think it has to be a combination of all of the above.
Would that include a Department of Energy here?
Oh, absolutely.
Supporting your efforts?
Correct. Using the technology.
And using the technology, right? And stepping up. And that was one of the points we made. Does the state become a leader in investing in conservation and clean energy? In this situation, if they did, it would help not only establish their leadership, but also help establish you as a company and the technology, right, that you're trying to grow worldwide.
Correct.
Excellent job. We look forward to following your story. I'll be back with some closing thoughts.
Cardi's is focused to give you a better night's sleep.
By working with those who have the same goal. Like our nation's most recognized sleep specialist, Dr. Bruce.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce. I'm here at Cardi's personally training Nairobi's team to assess your sleep habits and needs, focusing on my 4 tenets of better sleep: thermoneutrality, balance of pressure, complete relaxation, and tranquil sleep, all of which will help you get a better night's rest.
Enjoy an introductory free Dr. Bruce box spring, Cardi's Furniture.
Well, there you have it. Show 5 of our 5-show tour on energy. Seth, terrific. What were your closing thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's so powerful to have a company like eNow located right here in our backyard. I mean, innovating around the energy economy, just what we talk about all the time, and doing so in a way that not only creates economy, is a positive cash flow situation, but also is saving us carbon emissions and saving us fuel, and all these trucks that are idling all across the country, all over the world,
right?
all over the world, that are all of a sudden have this innovative technology that they can use. It's really powerful.
And it is, because it brings a whole new energy source to the truck. It makes the drivers more independent. It's better for customer service. As you said, this is a technology that can be used anywhere in the world, and should be. And the transportation industry is one of the backbones of the economy, and it's great to see an old industry transforming. So our very best to Jeff and his team for their success. Thank you so much for staying with us on this series, and come back next week to Renewable Now as we bring you more of the business side of green.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.